What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Aerith in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We've gone through some of the other main characters, and I thought I would leave what became my favorite character to the end of this series. So I kind of want to talk about just why I liked her, why I think, as the title and the thumbnail suggests, she really, to me, is the best character in this game. And you know what? It kind of was almost a slow burn, and I kind of want to start there. She's always good in this game, right from the beginning, and I feel like this is the game that really made her take off. Playing Remake for the second time, and I played it about a month before Rebirth came out. I mean, I like Aerith quite a bit, and obviously there's the whole, OG Aerith, but she stands out in Remake, but I don't think for me at least, she didn't become like this absolutely lovable character that like you would do anything for, right? Or cementing herself on like the all-time list. I think it's when you combine what she did in Remake to then Rebirth that really, jumps her up. And this is something that I've kind of seen in comments of even my own videos as well, where I've seen people say, the most that they've liked Aerith, even going back 27 years ago, was actually in 7 Rebirth, just because of the new ways of getting her personality out there. And I think Brianna White does a phenomenal job of voicing her and bringing her to life, and I would agree with those comments. I mean, I really think she stands out really nicely in Rebirth, and we're going to talk about the ending, so we will get into some spoilers as this video goes. But to start, I would say just with her natural personality, again, really good. There was a lot of talk even like behind the scenes of the kind of personality that she is, and I would agree really with what they've described her, where she's a fun character, right? Because she can be kind of sarcastic. She can be maybe even a little bit more edgy than somebody like Tifa, but she comes at it with this care, and that I think is really what has elevated her in Rebirth, and maybe why I think she's the best character in Rebirth. Again, the seeds were planted in Remake, but in Rebirth, number one, she's very funny, and she kind of is throughout the entire game, and she has this way of being serious, but also kind of taking some things lightly or almost enjoying the moment. I think that's even the most important part, say, of Cloud and her, quote-unquote dream sequence, right? When she just kind of wants to be there and live in the moment, whereas Cloud is, asking all these questions. That I really think kind of sums up her personality well, where she knows what's going on, and I think she obviously knows more than she let on throughout the entire game, but she's just trying to enjoy it, right? She's clearly looking for ways for it to end differently, and we get that even as you go into the Forgotten Capital, right? And she's even asking, right, when she's praying, saying, is there like basically any other way of this happening? She kind of knows what's going to happen, or at least she's planning for certain things, but again, she has this like levity to her where she's able to kind of take things in stride and have fun. And you have the date with her in Costa del Sol, and of course you could do the Golden Saucer date, but even what is like directly in the game, right? She just has this way of like taking things lightly, and I really like that kind of bubbly personality that she has. And again, it's a constant. I think that makes her really, really special. The care she has for others. There's a couple really cool sequences with her. One of which even is when she kind of gives the speech about loss, right? And like what these people mean, and that they're still there. And we even have her flashback sequence, right, with her mom. I would say, and as I said even at the beginning of the video, I think she kind of gets better and better as the game goes. And I think that's just because more of the elements or themes start to get introduced, right? So once and maybe it's even because of where our minds are as players going into this game. That's kind of how I was. Like, I've said this before, going into it and playing through it, you don't know what's going to happen, especially, if you avoid spoilers and whatnot. You don't know where it's going, but, I mean, you kind of do, right? It's really up to them if they were to change it or if they keep it the same. So, as you're going through and as you're having these kind of emotional moments with her, in the back of your head, you're thinking, yep, this is the last time we're going to do something like this together, right? And I actually thought that even, say, Costa del Sol, right? When you're on the date, it's like, well, this is one of the last times we're doing something like this, or, when she has a big speech, or when she kind of just, has a funny joke or a funny kind of one-liner, or she walks herself into a joke or whatever it might be, right? It's like, well, this isn't going to last forever. And I think that maybe made it more impactful, right? Because it's like you don't know what you have, until it's almost gone, right? And that's really what she, I think, stands for in this game. Like, how special she is, but do you know fully? And then, like, you might lose her, and so you're trying to hang on to all of these individual moments. And I think that all kind of comes together, right, to make her very impactful. And then you have the last, well, like 2-3 hours of this game, and it was a ride. And I really think, especially, you know, the more time we have been removed, basically, right, from the ending, I mean, I feel more and more sad. I kind of feel more and more depressed about it. Even though they talk about the third game and the ending ultimately being a happy ending, I think it's still going to result in Aerith being separated, right? So the idea of, say, Cloud and Aerith together, I personally, it's just, you know, a theory of mine, I don't think that's going to happen. So, you know, I'm bringing that up in terms of, well, her character in this game, it's so freaking good. Her relationship with Cloud is so good. And we've even talked about something like that too, right? Where, you know, he acts differently, Cloud, to Tifa versus Aerith. And not that one has to be better than the other, right, or put above the other, but, you know, with Aerith, like, I think he's a little bit more willing, at least a touch, right? I think that's something that people have brought up a lot. She hugs him a lot, she touches him a lot, and he seems more willing to do that with her than really anybody else, almost a somewhat act of opening up, right? So you think about all those moments, and I think that's what, you know, being so far removed from the game being over, that's what I think of. I think of those awesome moments with her and Cloud, and they're throughout the game. But they're, you know, primarily, or I'd say the biggest ones, right, are primarily at the end. So when you think of their dream world, and, you know, the ending in the church there, so emotional, again, because just an extra layer to her character, like, there's more to her than she even lets on, right? Like, she knows certain things, and she's playing 4D chess in her own way, and, you know, she kind of knows what's going to happen, so it actually makes it more impactful, right, when she says goodbye to him. And then, of course, you have what happens to her, and I'll still stand on my point of confusion probably being like the primary thing that you feel afterwards, or at least during it, and probably afterwards as well. But you know what? I really think as time goes on, I still can get kind of sad, or pretty sad actually, about that scene. Because again, it's like this character, she might be around in 3, and I think she's going to be around in 3, but in what way? And again, those small moments that kind of are just built throughout the game, and they add up, right? You have 10, 15, 20 of these moments where she's just being either funny or sarcastic or bubbly or caring or knowledgeable or whatever. And the way the writing, you know, lets her achieve this, the way the voice acting lets her achieve it, I mean, she's an amazing character. And no matter how she's in part 3, it's not going to be the same. And I think that's what we all lose as players, right? And that's what Cloud actually and I like that connection. I guess it's more of a Cloud thing maybe than an Aerith thing, but it's also, you know, it adds layers to Aerith's character as well. Because like I said, I really feel part of her, or maybe even part of the game's idea is, you know, can she kind of circumvent this, and can she kind of get around this in some way? And I mean, she might, like, I don't want to rule it out, because I guess anything's possible, but I still think the end goal is to separate her from that group. And, you know, I didn't even mention, we've talked a lot about her and Cloud, and her and just others in general, kind of a blanket statement. Her and Tifa, you know, I talked about it in the Tifa video, but let's throw it in the Aerith video. I mean, those two are great together, and I think that's another layer and level that, I mean, I gotta be real, like, even I wasn't really thinking or considering going into this game. Again, I liked all of the characters, and I've said that before, right? I liked them, let's say, going into Rebirth. I love them leaving Rebirth, and it's things like that where, you know, I didn't necessarily know how Yuffie would feel, you know, in that group, or how they would continue that relationship. But you can think of Aerith with any of them, but Aerith and Tifa really formed this awesome, you know, the kind of like sisterhood kind of duo that I think worked really well. Not just in, you know, I use them quite often actually in combat in the game, but just as a friendship. I think they worked really well together, and I think those characters mesh really well together. And that's another thing that you lose. And maybe you lose that actually more than you're going to lose her and Cloud, because I'm sure her and Cloud will probably talk more in part 3 than her and Tifa will. And so to end this video with kind of some key points that I said throughout, but I want to actually throw this in as well. How I grew up with Aerith, and actually all of them, how I grew up with Cloud and Tifa and all of them, was actually through Kingdom Hearts, okay? I met these characters in Kingdom Hearts, and that'll always kind of be legendary to me. But to echo what I've, again, seen other people say, and I would say the same thing quite clearly, this is probably the most I've cared, not just her, all of them. This is the most I think I'd care about any of these characters in the game. And considering this video is about Aerith, this is easily more than 7, the original, remake, any of the Kingdom Kingdom Hearts games where, you know, she's a cool character. And again, that's where I got established. I don't even know if I knew that she died or any of that kind of stuff. I don't even know when I found that stuff out, but it was late in the game. I got to be real. It wasn't when I was a couple months old, because I probably was back in 1997. And it wasn't during Kingdom Hearts. I really don't even think that either. So I think they did a tremendous job with her kind of key scenes. Obviously, they changed it up a little bit, and as I've talked about before, like, I'm okay with what they did there. But I think she's an amazing character, and again, rounds out one of the best casts, I would say, in video games. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.